Something happened. Lord Edward Sare is our court correspondent. He joins us on the phone line in the ongoing ambulance purchase trial. Lord, thank you very much indeed for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny.
Now, what happened in court yesterday? We were hearing some sounds in the air and sounds that are rotating. But what's happening?
Well, there are a number of facets and different angles to which you can look at it. But now, primarily, even before we get into the substantive matter, at the last hearing, the presiding judge had to rule on the admissibility of the audio recording the secret audio recording, I must add, between the third accused, Richard Japa, and then the Attorney General. So that was the first business of the day when the case was called. Now, depending on which side of the bar you are on, you are expecting it to be admitted or not, because one party, which is the prosecution, argued that this is a case of a breach of privacy. But then lawyers of Dr. Keso Atuposin, who is the first accused, and are relying on this audio recording by Richard Japa because they say it will help their case. We're hoping for it to be admitted because then the relevance of it will go a long way to prove their case.
Right.
So in her ruling, Justice Efia Sewa Asare-Botwe, among other things, indicated that, yes, maybe this could be a case of infringing or a breach of privacy, but she cited the Electronic Act, right, where she indicated that if the tables had been turned, there was a reverse, and this was a prosecution tendering in this acquired audio, secretly recorded, it would likely be admitted. And so this had to be admitted in court for the defendants. Now, she indicated that during the course of the trial, the court will assess its weight on the case eventually, because another thing she indicated as to why she admitted it was that if you listen to the audio, it was a conversation between the AG and Richard Japa, where conversations that had to do with the letters of credit and who authorized what. And that has been the basis of the argument of lawyers of Dr. Keso Atuposin, who are arguing that their client, Dr. Keso Atuposin, the minority that did not essentially authorize the letters of credit, which led to the purchase of the ambulance that government has described as defective. So after considering all these things, the judge admitted it into evidence. Right afterwards, well, the counsel for Dr. Keso Atuposin saw that as a win.
I see.
Moving on, the cross-examination began, right? And that was the second order of the day. So Richard Japa was back in the box and was being cross-examined by lawyers of Dr. Keso Atuposin, led by Dr. Abdul Basit Bamba. Now, during the cross-examination, Richard Japa told the court that he met the Attorney General 4 times. So at that point, they asked him, was this after the submission of no case or prior? And then he responded that, because if you recall, the Attorney General office had indicated that these meetings were quite recent. Talked about the fact that it could possibly be around 2 weeks or a month ago. Now, Richard Japa testified that he had met the Attorney General 4 times, twice in 2022, just around when the case had been called. The first time in February 2022, and the second in June 2022. And Johnny, you recall that he went to court in January 2022. That's when the case started, right? So he met the Attorney General in February 2022. And then recall the circumstances through which he met the Attorney General. He indicated that his cousin, a Supreme Court judge, I must say, called him with his phone and then spoke to Richard Japa, made him hold on, and that was how come he spoke to the Attorney General. Now, in this, he said that the Attorney General was in the house of this Supreme Court judge, and he wanted him to toe a certain line of conversation. He just wanted him to cooperate with him in order to get Dr. Keso Atuposin to be nailed. Now, he disagreed, and then at some point, Japa told the court that things got heated and they exchanged words. and essentially told the Attorney General that I won't do this, it will make me dishonest and all that. I'm sure you heard the tape.
I did. Now in the tape, Lord, so what people want to know were the extra commentary that happened in court. I mean, the tape that is in circulation, I'm sure you've also heard it. Not what was played at the press conference, but this is a supposed recording of the court proceedings. Are you able to authenticate, based on what you heard and saw and experienced in court, that what was recorded actually transpired in court?
I'm not certain of the tape you are referring to, but in court, I mean, we had Dr. Richard Jakpa, pardon me, saying that during the meeting with the Attorney General, he impressed upon the court that he was under pressure from the president and then the finance minister to jail to help him convict Dr. Cassey Forson within the first week of May. And then he indicated that this had to be done because, per the Constitution, a by-election cannot be held after 6 months, right? And so they needed Dr. Cassey Forson to be convicted within that time frame so that they can hold a by-election and then get the Forson constituency in Yan Isam from him.
Now, this would come as a shocker. The reaction in the public domain is different. What was the reaction in court yesterday?
So, Johnny, I happened to sit in front of the minority leader, Dr. Cassey Forson. So behind me, there was the minority leader, and then placed Patrick Fosu, and then another NDC leader. I can't really recall his name. And throughout the entire period that Richard Jakpa was making these allegations or revelations, occasionally I would tend to look at his expressions, and then he had his head down. And then sometimes you hear him whisper, wow. He seemed stunned throughout, a lot of shock. And then at some point, especially when Richard Jakpa alleged that the Attorney General had indicated that they will buy off the residents in Central Region if push comes to shove, and then they go to the by-election. Right. Everybody was stirred up in court.
As in when he said that, when Mr. Jakpa said that, he was told by the Attorney General that the people of the Central Region are cheap. How did the people react in court?
There was a lot of movements and harsh tones and several reactions, really, Johnny, because it was a very uncomfortable period around that time. And then another thing that Jakpa also noted was that the entire saga that had to do with the ambulance case seemed to be political because accessories that the government, all they needed to do was to call Big C for them to come and install it into their ambulance. Government had not done that, but instead had used taxpayers' money to import the same ambulances that the previous government had started working on, and then collaborated with the company to install the accessories, and then we have them on the roads now. He indicated that he actually went to see the former health minister, Ajima Menu, to tell him that we started this contract with the previous government. Everything has been sorted. The first batch is in. All you need to do is that send a correspondence to Big C, and they will come and install the accessories, train the health officials on how to use these equipment, and then they can be deployed. And according to him, Ajima Menu told him that, well, this is a different government. Right now, our party is taking care of it. And in the end, the leadership are going to sort it out so that we can also benefit. So we also take care of our own things. And again, when he said this, a lot of people there was a lot of reaction in the courtroom. People were expressing various levels of shock, you can say.
But Lord, the courtroom, as I know it as a former court reporter, is not a place for jokes. I mean, you could be committed to contempt or for contempt if you tried any funny noises and all of that. When you say that people reacted, I mean, what did they do and what did the judge say in respect of the reactions that were happening in court? Because that's not allowed, really.
Johnny, you know, when you, let me just create this instance, when you walk into a room and then you see and hear people whispering, making harsh noises,
Right.
you know it's about you, but you can't really comment because there's a very loud silence, if I can put it that way.
Right.
Because people are muttering, and it's not very loud, but you hear that kind of thing, right? And so this was what was happening in court. So at that point, it was more like a wave. Depending on what Richard Jakwa says, it goes up slightly, and then it comes down.
Lord Edwasari, I thank you very much indeed for your time. Before you go, when is the next case in court? When are we doing the next hearing?
Okay, Johnny, so cross-examination of Richard Jakwa has ended with the lawyers of Dr. Keswa. So next week, Tuesday, when we are back in court, prosecution will now begin their cross-examination, and then we will see what will come out from them, because the Deputy Attorney General says that they also have a very strong case. Now, I need to add this, Johnny, that 2 times in a row, the Attorney General has been absent in court. The first time we realized was on Tuesday, when he didn't turn up, and this was immediately the proceedings after the advice from the presiding judge. Court, right. We asked the Attorney General, is it the case that the Attorney General is now
has he recused himself,
taking cue or accusing himself? Or like, no, nothing like that. You come to court. And then yesterday, again, meeting to the Attorney General, we asked him that, we spoke to you the last time, he said the Attorney General, it's not a case that he's heeding to the advice of the presiding judge, but he's not here. And it's like, no, he's not here, but he's the Attorney General. He prosecutes cases. And it's not every time that, especially with this case.
Okay.
It's not every time that he comes to court. So when he's ready, he'll come to court again.
Lord Edwasari is our court correspondent. He joins us with an update. Lord, thank you very much indeed for your time. We're grateful.
Sunrise on 3FM. Shine with us.